I'm Jin, and this is my cousin Sophia, and we're here with Soul Spark Vibe. We're here on a mission to help spark your soul so that you can ignite your best life. And today we have a really awesome topic that I think I'm really excited to chat with Sophia about. But the topic is going to be spirit guides. And this is something that is really special. I think it's a really deep topic for me because all of the moves that I've been making in life, like, okay, so for reference, I just moved to Illinois. I had this spur of the moment opportunity come up and I jumped on it. And the faith that I had in the move wouldn't have happened if I didn't start building a relationship with my spirit guides in 2017. So I'm like really excited about this and passionate to share how to start building a relationship with your guides and like what that can really bring into your life by adapting a practice. I got really excited by adapting a practice of like really being in touch with them. So yeah, Sophia, do you want to add anything into what people can expect on this episode?
I just like to mention that I'm a little less advanced along the path of spirit guides, but I do have some input, and I think it might hit well with beginners or people who are just starting to be aware of these things. So once we get crack-a-lack, I can put my 2 cents in.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And honestly, like I think for Sophia, for you and for the listeners, I think that's like part of the charm of this podcast of Soul Spark is that we are kind of in different places along our journey and kind of bringing that together for the audience. So we're hopefully able to hit a broader spectrum of people who are along this journey. So hopefully that's where we're coming from with this, you know?
Yeah, rock on.
Do you want to kick us off, Sophia?
Sure. Yeah, because okay. So spirit guides in the sense of when I think of spirit guide, I think of a couple different things. I think of my guardian angel, my higher self, my master guide. I also think of ancestral guides. So me and Ginny share ancestors. So we'll talk to that also because I think it's pretty cool to how family comes into play. But my number one thing, aside from, are the 2 things as far as listening or hearing or understanding messages or guidance from the invisible realm as far as guides is awareness and intuition. So becoming aware that you do have guides, that there is like, I mean, I don't know for a fact, but from what I feel, from what I've learned on my journey, that there's like, you can't even count the amount of souls and guides that spirit beings, light beings that are around us in the unseen realm. Just like you can't see microwaves, there's beings in front of us and guides in front of us that you can't see, but they're there and you can interpret messages from them based on your awareness alone. So in my case, I'm so thankful to have my cousin Jen, because she had mentioned once before about our grandmother Eleanor. I never met Eleanor. Is it okay to?
This is actually, I'm going to tell more about this story. So yes, please.
Cool. Okay. So once she mentioned her and a number that was associated with her, I started to become aware of the same name and number. And it was too big of a coincidence, the times that my awareness would be brought to it, to say that it wasn't some sort of intelligence trying to guide me or get my attention. So it started with that. And then my awareness grew from there. Like I started to notice the name, and this will probably be the last example I use for now, Catherine. So I started hearing the name Catherine. And long story short, it ends up that Eleanor's mother or grandmother's name is Catherine. So I believe it truly in my heart, in my intuition, that beyond my first grandmother, there's great grandmothers, great grandmothers, fathers, whatever, that are here with us and want to get our attention and want to help us.
Absolutely. And I think there's another topic that I would love to like on a different episode, healing the witch wound, because I know that Sophia and I kind of connected on our grandma's ancestry having to do like being a part of the Celtic witch, which I think is really, really awesome.
Definitely. And possibly even Druid, which are like super mystical, magical people. So
yeah, so that could be a really cool one. So yeah, I think that's brilliant, and it's truly, the awareness is 100% the first step, right? And I think that So I want to give an example because when I was starting to like just explore this a little bit more, I found myself talking like all the time out loud. Like when I was driving and stuff like that, I was talking, and it wasn't like I was talking to me. I was like talking to somebody, something else, right? And excuse me, I asked, or I started researching spirit guides and like how to create and build a relationship with them.
Mm.
And the first thing that it said was just ask their name. Like just let them know that you want to build a relationship and ask their name. So I did, right? Like I asked for my spirit guide's name on a car ride home from somewhere, and I had a dream that night with it. Actually, turns out it was a past life dream, which that came back years later. It kind of like came full circle. But there was this woman named Tiffany, and then the next day there was something else with another Tiffany, and I was like, okay. So it was like, all right. I was like, okay, Tiffany, I think you might be my spirit guide's name. I got two. Like, if you give me a third, I'll know that that's your name. And it was the next night. I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and my cat Maya was like rubbing up against my leg. So I was petting her and everything. And it was the first time that I heard audibly heard something, and it just said Tiffany in my head, right? My whole body froze. Like I was terrified. Like it wasn't terrifying, but like it was shocking. I was like, what the fuck? Like where the hell did that just come from? You know? And my hand froze. Maya, my cat Maya, the kid who had her beforehand changed her name. So all of her paperwork that we had, her name was Tiffany. And it was it was the most mind-blowing thing. So one of my main guides is named Tiffany, and then Eleanor. So my name is Virginia. There's a little bit early in the series to be throwing that one out. But yeah, you guys are lucky. I don't really tell many people that. So, well, here we go. But so I was named after Grandma Eleanor. Sophia and my grandma. Her name was Eleanor Virginia, and so I kept seeing Virginia all over, and it was right after the whole Tiffany thing, and I kept seeing Virginia, and so I was back home. I was back east, and my other grandma, my mother's mom, was in the hospital. So I just dropped my sister off, and I was on the way to the hospital, and I just started talking to Grandma Eleanor. I was like, okay, I keep getting Virginias. I was like, I'm pretty sure that you're one of my guides, but if you are, give me an Eleanor. Okay, I was like, just give me an Eleanor, and I'll know that you're one of my guides. And I get to the hospital, and I'm waiting for the elevator, and Sophia over here sent me a Snapchat. And I opened the Snapchat, and she's at the cemetery, and she sent me a picture of the tombstone. So all I see is Eleanor, and I was just like, you've got to be shitting me.
No.
Wild. But yeah, the number 717 is it's like a number that I follow blindly, and I suppose Sophia as well. That's the day that Grandma passed away. And so there's much more to that story that we can get into, but I kind of want to open up to Sophia. But that's so what I guess I would conclude with that is like literally just ask and be open to receiving the answer, because I think a lot of the time that's where the holdup in receiving what we ask for comes, is like it's us just not being open to it. Like, yeah, to know, but then at the same time we kind of block it off at the same time.
I totally agree that starting the conversation and being just talking to them like, and I had a sister who passed away, and it's weird because like it's hard sometimes, and you feel, well, in my case, you feel like crazy or something, like what am I doing? But until you start getting the communication back, you're like, shit, I'm not crazy, like this is for real. And you'll hear the answers, in my experience anyway, through numbers, through messages from others. Most importantly, like a conversation you'll have, it could be 2 days from then. So words from others. Pay attention to where your attention is directed to. You're driving down the street, and like you're not looking at any billboards, but then your attention is sent to a billboard randomly with an answer to something you have asked. It's all relative. I think it's all awareness and your gut intuition, and you'll start to trust your intuition more and more as you recognize that you're not crazy, and these are answers to what you've been asking, and you'll trust yourself more, and it builds, and it's really a beautiful communion you could have with the other side.
Absolutely. And I love how you went into trust there, because that is like the biggest, that's the biggest part of it. And it's been such a journey of working with my guides, and it's, and like, and again, okay, so I'm definitely, I started this relationship in 2017, so I do have like a few years, like I've been working on this a little while. So like for
Yeah.
anybody listening who's just jumping in, it's like it takes baby steps, right? Like we're taught not to trust this stuff. We're taught
Mhm.
not to trust things that we can't understand or see, and it's something that's actually like biologically ingrained in us to not trust this and to feel crazy, or like just that something's wrong if you start getting these hunts and hunches.
Yeah.
Sorry. But I think that trusting, and once you do just start like fully trusting, and it opens up doorways. Like I almost have this invincibility complex, and I'm kind of like questioning whether I should say this so early on as well. But like I have this invincibility complex where I know that I'm so protected, and if something is going to happen, it's meant to happen,
Mhm.
because I have such a strong relationship with my guides, and it's like the whole unseen world is kind of like I'm still able to work within the unseen world through these extensions of myself, or like through the extensions, yeah, of me, who are my guides, if that makes sense.
Yeah, most definitely. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's partly their job or their mission is to help us in the material world, in the visible, or what we consider visible realm, and they're kind of like conduits to um, the spirit world.
Yeah.
If you're okay, Jen, I wanted to touch a little bit on our higher self, or our
Yeah.
master guide.
Yeah, please
Um,
do.
so that's when I started to learn about my master guide or guardian angel. To me, it's all the same. It could be different. I don't know if anybody can ever prove that, but our master guide or our guardian angel or God of our heart is the first one for me. Well, no, that's not really true, but the first one the easiest, I guess, one to build a relationship with. And like Jen said, it's so true. Baby steps with everything. I read this quote the other day. I forget it right now, but it's something simple, like if you try to take shortcuts you'll fall short, and something along those lines. But everything in baby steps is one of my main lessons that I want to um share with everybody. And I'm like an overachiever. I like to like climb up the ladder and jump steps and all of that, but you always fall back down, and you have to like there's steps to everything. So to build a relationship with my higher self, it started with intuition. I know we've talked about that before, but it's something that I think will come up forever in these type of conversations. But to trust, when you begin to trust yourself and really follow your intuition, you start to build a communion with your higher self. um what I consider a higher self is like the best, like literally your being in another realm. And Jen, I'm pretty sure you can probably comment on this too. But it's like a mirror almost, whereas your master guide is there with you all the time, your guardian angel. Like if like Jen said, if you're supposed to be in a car accident and not, I mean, if you get in a car accident, it's not your time to die. You see these crazy videos on YouTube and stuff where you actually can see a light being and the person is safe. So I believe in divine protection and having a guardian angel that's there with you at all times. And I think it might be a good starting place via intuition and communication. Talk to your higher self, talk to your guardian angel, ask questions, and see how the answers arrive in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting, the concept of the higher self and us. Like, I feel like there are so many ways that we could branch off on, or I could branch off on that, but it's like, um, well, I have one direction that I want to branch off into, but I don't know if it's well, you know what? Here we go. We're just gonna roll with it. Because so our higher self, okay, and I guess like I'm hesitating right now because this is a new thought. Like I've never thought of it like this before. Um, but okay, so I had an experience in 2020 where I had all of these concepts flooding through me, and I didn't know where they were coming from. I didn't know what they were. Like I had to research what they were and everything. And all I could come up with was that it was my future self, right? It was my future self showing me what I needed in order to build a foundation for this company that I'm working to build. And when you said higher self and like the different vantage points, the non-linear nature of time, it might just be like a collective self. And like I said, like this is a new thought. Like I haven't actually like spoke this out, so I hope it's not like super nonsensical or anything. But like because time isn't really like that's what separates things. So if we are in touch with ourselves, our higher selves, whether you want to, and I guess really to like simplify this, it could be like higher self could be just collective self. Like it's your collective timeline that's guiding you through your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I believe that time is not linear. It's secular. I believe the word is how you pronounce that. Sorry. But so that makes sense. And like, and if you agree, your higher self is your master guide, then that would make sense. They're with you at all times, past, present, future. Yeah, and the main.
I want to ask, like, is that what you were saying? It's like a higher version of you that has a different vantage point. Is that what you were saying for the higher self?
I'm sorry, I'm kind of merging the two concepts. I think of calling it my master guide, my master spirit guide under the topic of spirit guides. Yeah.
So you worked on like your connection to you first.
Yes.
That's amazing because I totally went the other way.
But it wasn't the first. I'm so sorry. It wasn't the first time being introduced to spirit guides that way. It came through other things, and then when I really started to study and sit down and do research, that's how I began.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that's fascinating, and it just goes to show that every journey is going to be so unique and individual. Because that's like the opposite of how I went about it, right? Like I went to my guides. Like I did not look for something within me. I looked for something outside of me, whereas you totally just went to you, and that's what helped build with your guides.
Yes.
So I think that's absolutely brilliant, and I love like the different perspectives that are coming into play right now.
Me too. It is very fascinating.
Yeah. And so like that's the thing, right? Like we can talk about our experience, but your experience like is going to be so unique and individual, and it's kind of just. I think the main thing is for somebody who is like interested in learning more about how to connect with their guides, right? I think that the main thing I would share is or suggest, I suppose, would be leave space for your guides to communicate with you. If you're not meditating, and meditating doesn't need to be sitting down. Maybe we should probably do an episode on meditating actually, because I think there's a huge misconception when it comes to meditating. Like people think like, oh, I can't sit still. I can't like not think. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, I was talking to somebody the other day who he was talking about how much he loves the gym and how he just like gets so focused. And I was like, that is a form of meditation. Anytime you're getting into a flow type of state is a meditative state. So for those who may not think that they are like really good at meditating and that is what's kind of keeping them from jumping in, find something that you like. And when you are so like just in the flow, consider that meditation, because it is sometimes just a simple switch of mindset that will help strengthen a skill, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Another good example is playing musical instruments when you're playing a musical instrument, or even when you're driving, and you'll notice when you're in that flow state that Jen mentions, you'll start to think of things will download, things will come to you that they wouldn't normally when your brain isn't focused.
Yeah. Driving and shower thoughts. Shower thoughts are my absolute favorite. But yeah, like when your conscious mind is just zoned out and you start having these thoughts, but if you don't leave the space, the thoughts aren't going to be able to, the flow is not going to be able to come through. So I know I've talked with a lot of people who are just like, I can't communicate with spirits, or like, I can't really get into that. And it's, more that they're keeping themselves busy throughout like every minute of the day, instead of just, if they have 5 minutes, like turning the TV off, turn your phone off, and just sit and breathe. And it can literally be 5 minutes. It can be 5 minutes if that's all you have, you know.
I think that is great advice, Jen. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I'm taking the advice for myself. I mean, I meditate every day, but to get answers to things that you've asked or communication back from spirit guides, you really have to leave the room, leave the space for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even so there's a lot to be said about using your sleep state as well, right? Like if you have a question, like you were just saying, Sophia, like if you have a question, like a specific question that you're looking to get answered, focus on it, meditate on it right before you go to sleep. And I say meditate, really like all you need to do, ask it out loud. You don't have to sit here and like meditate on it, like just like, hey, can you help me with this? And usually, like I can't say usually, but sometimes you'll either have a dream that will kind of help stimulate something, or you'll wake up with like your morning thought will be like, it'll be like a whole aha kind of thing. It'll clarify itself for you, you know?
Yes, I've had those experiences as well, where you just know the answer.
Yeah, but when we're sleeping, our conscious and subconscious just blend. So there aren't restrictions to who we can communicate with and how we receive information and stuff like that. So it's a really cool space to utilize.
Definitely.
So one other thing that I really wanted to talk about, that I just wanted to mention about spirit guides, because this was like a huge aha moment for me, and I want to share it. So, I was okay. Something that I heard, I don't remember. It was in 2020. I was doing a lot of networking, right? Like I was on this whole environmental escapade, and I was like networking with a whole bunch of people. And somewhere along that time, I watched this video, and it had mentioned that. So like when you're networking with somebody, right? So like Sophia and I, we both have our connection of people. So once we're connected, we kind of like gain access to each other's network if need be, right? Mm-hmm. So when you start developing a relationship with your guide and strengthening that bond, and whether it's your guide or your higher self or however you want to look at it, or the whole, like all of it, you know, when you meet people, your guides meet their guides, and how in the physical plane, right? Like us networking here is almost like walking through like a bog, right? Like a swamp. It's like walking through a swamp networking here. Whereas our guides who live in this energetic reality, it's more like lightning. Like once our guides are connected, it's like a lightning shot to all of the connections that you have, all the connections that I have. And when you're looking for things that are out of your control, or like when I'm looking for things that are out of my control, I look to my guides, and it's like, I know that every time that I've met somebody and had a positive interaction, and something like we've vibed on something, we've brainstormed a different idea, I know that their guides are also in communication, and like they're a part of making something much bigger than I can ever perceive potentially happen. It really, like, it helped me feel like there were nothing but open doors and possibilities, because there were no limits to how far I could network, even though I'm just one little person. If that.
So, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. I thought that was something really cool that I heard, and I was just like, so now every time like I meet somebody, and I'm just like, yo, I know I got your guides. Like, you know? Yeah, it's fun.
That is fun, and it's so. I mean, that's fascinating, and it's fun to think about, and to see it all come to fruition, and things happen, and synchronicities perform right in front of your eyes. It's miraculous, really.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd like to mention on spirit guides is that they don't always have to be what we consider humanoid or past humans. There's spirit in everything. We all come from, or from what I believe in my studies, that we all come from one source of energy. Everything from this, this to this blanket to me, like there's spirit in all of us. So even like don't discount environmental spirits also. So like I live in the northeast part of United States, so New Jersey. So there's certain type of animal life that lives here, and I could be affected by the spirit of certain animals and past peoples that lived here, people that I've never even met. I live on indigenous people's land that were here for centuries before me. So the spirit of that, you can't kill energy. This is physics. So it can only be rearranged, or whatever the exact quote is. But don't close your mind to natural spirit forces as well, because I feel sometimes the spirit of like a cardinal bird. Like, say something's going on, and this could be my subconscious communicating with me through archetypes or whatever, what have you. But like, so the cardinal is a very popular bird in this part of the world, and it comes with its personality, its soul personality. People know well, it is what it is, and we know what cardinals are known for. So if I'm looking for the answer to something and I keep seeing a cardinal appear, and it actually takes away from the environmental aspect that I was talking about, but basically that animals can be guides too. Hopefully you guys have your own experience with animal spirit guides. They're fun to talk about, they're fun to work with, but also the energy of the land. Don't discount it, and know its history. Sometimes knowing the history of where you live and what the land you're walking on can help guide yourself in your daily, what you have to do today. If it's going to be cloudy and gray and you're super high vibrational person and you're affected a lot by the sun's energy, depending on what you eat or whatever, just be aware of environmental spirits also, because everything is derived from spirit, I believe. So
absolutely. And I love that for so many different reasons. And one thing that I kept thinking while you were saying that, while you were talking about that, was when I was in Pennsylvania, there was a trail, and it was pretty much, it was a trail that was blazed by the Lenape Wolf Clan tribe, and there were like signs and everything. So that's how I learned more about the tribe and like what they did and everything. And it was really cool, because that was like the first time that I really connected with like energies, like native energies of a place before. And it was like I could feel it. And it was beautiful. And it was kind of what preceded my trip to Africa, which was really grounding. It was like a super like grounding and like indigenous experience for me. And it was really cool, because I do feel like strengthening that bond, like kind of with the indigenous tribe of the area, of the land. It kind of helped just open me up to receive more from the land I was going to, but it was amazing. Like I would walk around, and the one time I literally, because I would just talk to the tribe and thank them for the land and like what I'm able to walk now, because they led the way,
Thank you.
Yeah, no, and it's like I'll never forget this one time I was walking and I was just talking to them and everything, and I sat down on one of the benches, and I like look up, and a deer was just like right there, and I was just like, oh man, it's beautiful. And whether the deer would have come up, whether I was talking to the tribe or not, it was like the way that it happened. I was like, that to me, I took that as them blessing me.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, that's what it's all about, getting those little those confirmations, however they, if they are, or if they're not, if you believe them to be true, they are.
Yeah.
And it makes life so much more beautiful.
Absolutely. And fun. Like you said, like with the carnival, like it's just fun. So
fun.
Right? Yeah. Like nothing. Like I want to have fun. I just want to enjoy stuff. And this is like a way to, well, put meaning to different things,
Definitely, from a different perspective, outside of what science has taught us, outside of what history has taught us, outside of what your teacher has taught you, that's only knows his or her perspective. Like just creating your own perspective is fun, and it gives you like the control back, the locus of control. And for a long time I didn't realize these things, Jen. I come from like misery and sadness for so long. So like me especially, being grateful and showing gratitude to the little blessings in life, things become miraculous, and then other things start to happen. And like it's almost like the law of attraction, right? I know this is a whole other episode, but like if you find joy in those moments, and you keep building more of those joyful moments, guess what? They're going to appear more and more often. And I'm so happy to say that I'm just like ecstatic these days. And I truly believe it's from opening my mind to spirit, to guides, to messages that I believe I'm getting, to things I believe I'm hearing. And it grows with you. Everything is in baby steps, again, to bring it back home. So all I can hope is that anybody listening also begins to open their ears, their eyes, all of your five senses to what's around us, because we can only see this. And this is scientifically proven that we see like this much on a spectrum of like this much. So believe it to be true. If you think something, most likely there's a possibility it could be true just because this guy says it's not, or that science history book says it's never been proven. Like, don't trust yourself, trust your guides.
Absolutely. And I do, before we close this out, I do want to just mention one more thing, because it is about opening up your senses. And here's where I think like you can't really find like a prescribed way of opening up these senses. And that where like why it's so difficult to find one way is because we are all so much different. We have different clair senses, right? So like hearing that audible name in my head, like I don't hear that very often. I wish I did. I probably want it so badly because it's like one of my least developed clairs, right? But like I have the emotion, the clairsentience and the cognizance. Yeah, claircognizance. Those are like my two strongest. So it's like just an inner knowing and an emotional knowing. Is that right? Is that what the clairsentience is? The
clairsentience feeling?
Yeah. So it's like the clear knowing. So, but like I had to kind of like figure that out, because I have people, like I'm talking to people and they're like hearing things, and I'm like trying to hear things, and that's what I'm focusing on when that's not where I was meant to be focusing. Like so if you're like you're trying to see things and you're not seeing them, sit back. Don't try and see so hard, but feel with your heart. Feel like there's clear cognizance is very interesting. Like that was like, this is probably one that I just ended up like grasping, because it's just a clear knowing. Like you just know things, right? And it's like I pull things out of the thin air all the time, and I tell people to fact check me, and then it's right, and it's just like I don't know that, like I don't know why I would know that, but like, so don't be very like attached is what I would suggest. Like don't be attached to how the information comes through. Just be open to it coming through, and trust. Like that's something. Trust is something that needs to be built within yourself before it can be built outside of yourself.
Oh my God, yes, great.
Like, if you say that you're gonna like, hey, I'm gonna get up and work out, I'm gonna get up and do yoga tomorrow. If you don't get up and do yoga tomorrow, nobody's gonna know, but you're also not following through on yourself. So if you want to trust yourself, you need to show up for yourself. And that's something that like you can't really sugarcoat, you can't really get around. I think next to meditation, that would be one of the top things that is needed.
And it takes time. Don't give up on yourself. It takes time, and don't let that deter you, because on the other side of that, building trust. Oh my gosh, this is such a good, I'm so happy you brought that up, Jen, because I was there. I didn't trust myself. I'd have lists and lists. I know, lists of things that wouldn't get done. But once I started really, after I had my own awakening experiences and realized there's way more to this, and I started trusting myself over time. It takes time. It's just like trusting somebody new in your life. I hope you don't trust people right away. It's not smart.
But well, I mean, I think
I mean, where I come from, maybe.
And I think that's one of the things, right? Like, and I know this is like from my personal experience, like I went through so much of my life putting more trust on people who were not me than I did on myself. I didn't trust myself. Like I didn't show up for myself. There was no reason for me to believe in myself or believe that I would, Mm-hmm. And then that also sets the bar for how people saw me. So like I couldn't trust myself, so I wasn't really trustworthy, and then like people weren't treating me with the respect, because why would they show up for me when I'm not showing up for me, So there's like, it's literally just like this snowball effect when you start really just developing this connection with yourself and with your guides and everything. It really enhances everything on such a mind, body, and soul level.
I 1,000% agree from my perspective also.
Yeah. Was there anything else that you wanted to throw in before we wrap it up, Sophia?
No, I think that's it. Touch base on a lot of different things. We could go deeper on other things another time, but I think that's a great introduction from what my perspective on spirit guides.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely did touch on quite a few different topics in here. So if there's something that like interests you in particular that you would like us to dive into more, yep, drop it down below. That's what she said. Yeah, we would love to like really make sure that we're stimulating you in the proper way. My goodness, I need to shut up right now. Nothing coming out of my mouth is coming out right at this moment. I'm so sorry. But we want to make sure that we're giving you the content that you are looking for. So any of these topics we would love to dive more into, and we will totally be hitting all of these topics. But if there's one in particular, let us know.
And share your stories about your experience with your spirit guides. We love to hear them. It makes us all become more aware of possibilities or different contact.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to hear them and we'd love to share them. So if you want to share your stories with us, you can put them in the comments or you can email soulsparkvibe@gmail.com. Send us your stories and we can share them with others who your story might help be the bridge that somebody else needs to really believe in their ability. So yeah.
Yep. Spread the light, spread the love.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. See you next Saturday. And
Bye.
Goodbye.